And joining us now is Ben Mutzabaugh, managing editor at travel website The Points Guy. Ben, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you joining us on 24/7 today. So President Trump says he'll order the DHS to start paying TSA officers. Do you think that's enough to improve security wait times at airports across the country?
I think it will help. I think as soon as the paychecks start flowing back into these employees' bank accounts, I think they're going to be a lot more. I think the call out rate will drop quickly. What we've seen in the past, shutdowns is that once the pay has been restored, there's been a pretty quick bounce back. But kind of like you were saying there in the report, this is not the first shutdown that these workers have endured, and I think I would be tired of it if it was me. So I think there's going to be. I think that's the question. How quickly will they come back? In the past, it's been pretty quick. If I were a traveler, I would brace myself for the long lines, at least into next week, and then hope that it was all for nothing and that things do improve pretty quickly. But I do think once the paychecks come back, we're going to see a fairly rapid improvement. I think the question really is just how rapid.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just how rapid is that improvement going to show up? I want to ask about this because there is this point of personal responsibility. So what can we all do when we are heading to airports knowing the lines might be long? What can we do to, I guess, avoid that? Or maybe if we have to wait in line longer than we can or want to, what can we do to alleviate the pain that comes with all that?
I think one of the things that makes this so frustrating is that it's just really hard to predict. Like, obviously, you're looking there in Houston, and it's generally been a mess for travelers. I flew Monday from JFK and Wednesday from LAX, and it was pretty normal. But you don't really know until you get to the airport. So the things you can do is make sure that you're packed, ready to go through the checkpoint, that the things that have to come out, you can get out quickly and easily. That will make the line move faster, especially if it's times 100 or 500 people that are in line with you or already. That will help. I know this is easier said than done. Try to have a good attitude. It just makes things a little more pleasant for everyone. Now, I'm not stuck in a 4-hour line, so it's easy for me to say I get it. And then there are some things you can do. If your airport posts wait times on its website, use that as a good indication for how early you need to get there. None of us want to be there 4 hours early if we only need to be there 2. I think that's a given. But just try to be as prepared as you can be. And just also, I know it sounds a little hokey maybe, but try to have a good attitude, because if you do get stuck at one of those airports where things aren't going well, it's not going to be fun, and tempers could flare, and we just all want to get through the airport and get to the beach or the mountains or wherever we're going.
Have a good attitude is a good point, because you have to remember these TSA officers are not getting paid. If anyone should be annoyed, it's actually them. I also want to ask about airlines. Are they doing anything to help in this entire situation? Any compensation for those travelers who maybe even went to the airport on time or earlier than they're supposed to? Because we've heard from people who say, I got there 4 hours ahead of time and my flight left before I could actually make it there. Any compensation for those people?
This is another area that's going to be a little frustrating depending on what situation you're in. So technically, unless your flight is canceled, you're not owed compensation from the airline. So that being said, the airlines know what's going on, and I think it would be in all of their best interest to know that if a traveler was in the security line for 4 hours and missed their flight, that they're not going to try to stick it to them with change fees or rebooking the flight. So we have seen some flexibility. Allegiant in particular it's a leisure carrier that flies to a lot of small cities across the country. They've been pretty aggressive with flexible policies. Delta has done some things in Atlanta. United has waived some changes because of the security lines. So I think if you find yourself in this situation where you missed a flight because of a long line, know that they technically don't owe you anything, but this is where the good attitude comes in. Be really nice. Try to sweet talk whoever you get FaceTime with at the airport and say, look, I was in this line. What can you do to help me? And I think in this case, this is one area where the airlines are going to do what they can. Now, the bad news is flights are going to be full, and hopefully there's an empty seat to wherever you're headed on the next flight, or that there is a next flight, because I know you don't want to come back the next day and go through that line again. But see what they can do for you. You're technically not owed anything, but just try to get through the line, and if you miss your flight, just be really nice to the airline folks, and they could probably help waive and get you on the next flight.
A good attitude goes a long way.
Sure does.
Ben Mutzabaugh, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate your insight.
Sure thing.